Hi, it's Lisa Cobb. Welcome to day 3 of our series of 6 mindful parenting classes. I want to start out by reminding all of us that we are spending this time together talking about mindful parenting, remembering that it doesn't mean that we're ever going to be perfect parents, because there really is no such thing. We're all learning this process together. Mindful parenting means that you bring your conscious attention to what's happening instead of getting hijacked by your emotions. Your own mindfulness practice comes first. Managing your own emotions and behaviors is key to teaching our kids how to manage theirs. It is the reason why on airlines they tell us to put on our oxygen masks before we put on our children's oxygen mask. And we need to work on regulating our own emotions first before we are ready to meet our kids where they're at. Unfortunately, when we're stressed and exhausted and overwhelmed, we're oftentimes not feeling like we are emotionally available for our kids. Also remembering that mindfulness is letting go of guilt and shame, and it is about focusing on what's happening right now. So going into the past, decisions that we've made in our parenting, or projecting out into the future and our worries about how we might parent as different things come up. We need to let go of all of that and just focus on the present moment. Mindfulness is learning how to put that final piece of peace into the puzzle and accepting whatever's going on rather than trying to change what's going on. Being a mindful parent means paying attention to what you're feeling. It does not mean that you won't get angry or upset. And of course, you're going to feel negative emotions. But when we act on them mindfully, then we can move through the event and grow with our child. They don't expect us to be perfect. The benefits of mindful parenting are that you become more aware of your own feelings and thoughts. You become more aware and responsive to your child's needs, thoughts, and feelings. You become better at regulating your emotions. You become less critical of yourself and your child. You become better at standing back from a situation and avoiding impulsive reactions, and your relationship with your child will improve. How do we practice mindful parenting? We think about the situation from where we got upset or angry and where we reacted automatically because it's what we're dealing with, our negative thoughts, feelings, and judgments. And in the stressful situation, when our emotions are easily triggered, it's hard to be the best version of ourselves, and that's okay. And we can expect that our child will find those triggers for us. They know exactly what to do to get us upset. In order to make the choice to change our behaviors, we first must become familiar with our own emotional triggers. There are certain times of our day when we're more vulnerable and less emotionally available, and we may be feeling stressed or tired or overwhelmed or helpless, and feel preoccupied with our own work, our relationships and responsibilities. Our emotional triggers come from our senses, what we see, what we smell, what we taste, what we hear, what touches us. Feelings or judgments from our own childhood will arise as our children do that specific action. Your child behaves in a way that clashes with your beliefs in the way that you grow up. We are emotionally triggered when our child's behavior is triggering our own maybe traumatic events that we experienced or traumatic states we had when we were children based on how we responded to different situations. Your child's behavior and feelings oftentimes activate our own fears and our own desires. So, what are your emotional triggers? And mindful awareness is just noticing them, knowing what they are without judgment. So, you notice your own feelings when you're in conflict with your child. What feelings are triggered when you're angry, ashamed, embarrassed. Try to experience your emotions or your triggers more like a wave that kind of come and go. Try not to block or stop your own emotion. Don't stuff it. Notice it. We don't have to get caught up in it, but we don't have to just crash through it. We have to know that it's there and notice, oh, I've been triggered. I'm not going to judge it right now. I'm not going to reject it right now. I am going to notice that I had a thought or an experience that triggered my emotion, and this is where I'm feeling it. Notice your own feelings when you have a conflict with your child. Don't try to keep the emotion around forever, but again, you don't want to stuff it. You don't need to cling to it. You don't need to make it bigger than it already is. You're not your emotion, and you don't have to act on the emotion right then. Just be there and fully mindful of it and remind yourself and your child that you are doing the very best that you can. The power of the pause. Um, Find that calm space in the heat of the moment to focus your attention on your body, to breathe, because our emotions show themselves as changes in our body or in our breath. When we slow down and we focus on our body and breathe, there is a physiological change that happens in our body. And this decreases our reflexive response, our reaction, and increases the ability to connect to our prefrontal cortex, that smart part of our brain. So our power is in our pause. Somehow we're triggered, and in that pause, when we take that deep breath, when we check in, oh, yep, I've been triggered. I feel it right here in my body. This is the thought that's associated with it. Maybe a memory comes up. Before you respond in a negative way by reacting, we decide, okay, this is what's happening. I calm my body physiologically, and then I choose to respond to the situation. And we do that by listening carefully, listening to what your child is saying to you. It doesn't mean that they'll be able to manage their feelings right then, but kids are still learning how to regulate, and so are most adults actually, and have different priorities than we do, and their behavior will push your buttons at times, and that's okay. Setting conditions are anything that makes challenging behavior more or less likely to occur. So keep in mind when your child is upset about something and you're trying to figure out what, be mindful of the physical environment, the routine. Did the routine maybe change? What activities are going on? Maybe it's unstructured or it's too stressful. Relationship based, like maybe they feel disconnected from you right then, or you're forcing them to interact with somebody that they don't feel attached to right at that moment. And then sometimes it's just personal, like they don't feel well, medication is off, or they've experienced some type of event that's traumatic. So the world as a child is like an iceberg, just like it is for us adults. What we see on the surface in our behaviors is only like 10 to 15% of what's going on with us. The rest of what's happening with us is under our surface and represents our feelings and our needs. And kids are connected to school and to family and their peers and community. And right now, even more so with the COVID virus being removed from all of those supports, may or may not be impacting your child negatively. So, an emotional crisis occurs when a child's inability to cope results in a change in behavior. The goals of mindful emotional crisis intervention is almost what we call it as an intervention, is to support them environmentally and emotionally so that we can reduce the stress and risk, but then also we can teach them a better way to cope with their stress. So supporting and teaching, that is our job as a parent. And remember, we talked about this the last couple of weeks, the stress model of crisis, that we all have baseline behavior that's normal for us. We all have a triggering event that makes us feel a little agitated. And if we don't address it right then and bring it back down to baseline, then we potentially go into an escalation phase, and possibly we see some aggressive behavior, verbally or physically acting out. And if we don't deal with it right then there's a good chance that it can potentially even go into an explosive state, where they're hitting and kicking and biting, throwing things, breaking things. And we are going to try to learn how to support and teach them so that when they come down to the recovery phase, they are actually able to learn a new behavior, okay? A new way of coping. We have a choice during that recovery phase that we can just be a firefighter. We just put out what's happening right then. And that's where it's like, knock it off because I said so, because I'm the mom, because I'm in charge. And if that goes even further and we're yelling and we are out of control, then it's almost like we are an abuser. Maybe not in the sense of, child protective service abuse, but emotionally, it's harming, more harmful than helpful. Or we can become an educator, teaching our children new ways of coping. And even when we are dysregulated and when we are triggered and we are practicing our mindfulness, we can do that with them. We can be authentic and say to them, I don't really know how to handle this situation right now, so I'm going to take a few deep breaths. I don't know if you want to take them with me. And we will calm down together, and then we're going to figure out how to solve this problem. 4 questions we ask ourselves in a crisis situation when our child is feeling emotionally dysregulated is, what am I feeling now? So, are you kidding me? This is happening all over again. What am I feeling now? I don't want to deal with this. What does your child feel, need, or want? How is the environment impacting the child? And then how do I best respond? Okay. And most of the time, our immediate response, other than lifting them out of the way of a car or something, would be an emotional response, is to take that deep breath, to calm and to co-regulate with them. the effects of anger, when we are our angriest and when kids are our angriest, we are our stupidest. I love this quote. As our anger elevates off of our baseline, our cognitive functioning decreases. So it's really impossible to make good decisions when you aren't calm physiologically. You are not connected to the prefrontal cortex. You aren't able to connect with your executive functioning to make good decisions. You are just reacting, and not until we come back down to calm can we do our homework. Can we problem solve together? Can we truly work on repairing relationships? Not until we are down to our own baseline can any of that happen in a way that it starts to shift permanently our desire to use those coping strategies. So when you look at assessing behavior of your child, you are going to remember that all behavior has meaning, and that the behavior reflects what that need is. And I do love this. Never in the history of calming down has anyone ever calmed down by being told to calm down. So think of that for yourself when you're elevated and somebody's like, calm down. You know, the first thing you want to say is, no, don't tell me to calm down. And that's how kids feel too. So what we as parents need to do is what's called active listening. We need to validate feelings. We need to co-regulate, meaning we need to calm and calm with them, okay? We need to co-regulate with them. We need to be non-judgmental and accepting and supportive. And we need to use our listening skills. So it doesn't mean that what they're doing is right, and it doesn't mean that ultimately there won't be some type of consequence for their behavior. But when they are elevated and away, again, from that executive functioning, they cannot problem solve with us, okay? So when we are attentive, ask open-ended questions, ask probing questions, reflect some clarification, rephrase what they had said, be attuned to and reflect their feelings and kind of summarize and go through that cycle, we avoid the conflict cycle with them. And really what all humans want is to be seen and heard. So even if what they are arguing with you about or mad about or sad about is seemingly irrational, it doesn't matter at that point. We need to calm them down using all of these skills, and then we can make a good decision together. So teaching new skills as we process throughout the day, we make decisions together, we take responsibility for our actions and choices together, and create opportunities for learning. So it's almost like we are their emotional coach. So we are going to be aware of their emotions, use their emotions to connect. I can see that you are really angry right now. Mommy's going to do some breathing with you. See if we can get ourselves calmed down. So we help them label their emotions and we communicate empathy and understanding, and they might turn it around on us like, shut up, stop talking to me. And then you just say, yeah, I can see that you're really angry with me right now. And then the last step is that when we get them calm, that's when we work on setting limits and teaching them how to problem solve, okay? Reflective responses would be something like, you feel uncomfortable when your friends talk about school, or it makes you angry when your friends talk about school, or you feel stupid because you don't know what your teacher's talking about in school. You are angry about your visit being canceled or your birthday being canceled. I'd be upset about that too. And then when you use the reflective affirmation statements and calm them back down, then you work on summarizing. So when you woke up this morning, you remembered it was your birthday, and then you remembered that we can't have a birthday party for you, and that made you feel angry or sad, and you felt it in your belly or in your chest or in your throat or in your fists, okay? And when we're doing that coaching with them, we're saying it's okay to be upset. It's okay to let out your emotions. I hear you. I'm here for you. I'll stay with you. It's okay to feel how you feel. You're saying once we've got them calmed back down into baseline, but it's not okay to hit mommy or yell at mommy. What's something else that you could do when you get upset? How you feel right now won't last forever. It's okay to feel how you're feeling. It'll pass. You'll feel better again soon. And this is again when we've calmed back down into baseline. You're not arguing and telling them that what they're feeling doesn't hold any value. You're teaching them when you have that feeling, that angry feeling, and this is where you feel it, that sad feeling, that frustrated feeling, and this is where you feel it, it's not going to always last forever. And we're going to learn new ways of how to get back to liking your brother or sister again, or wanting to come down and eat dinner with us. And always going back to the breath and a break, getting a glass of water, laying down, switching activities, doing something to calm them down, to come back down to baseline, to process through what's going on, and then teaching a new skill, okay? Active listening and reflective statements identifies and validates their feelings. It reduces their defensiveness. It promotes change. It communicates that we care and understand. It's an effective co-regulation strategy, and it helps kids talk out rather than act out. Active listening is not throwing up roadblocks, like arguing like, nope, that's not what happened. That is not what I said. You heard me wrong. We're not arguing with them. We're not blaming them. We're not giving them permission either. We're just simply listening. We're not giving advice or solving the problem. As parents and adults, we want to go right to solving the problem. We need to spend some time, a lot more time, just listening and draining the emotion. And once they are used to doing this with you, it's not necessarily time consuming. You will be amazed how quick you can drain off the emotion and get to baseline so that you can go into problem solving. Negotiating rules and expectations. You can express your concerns. I'm worried when this happens. This is what concerns me about what happened. You're using that active listening. Tell me how you see this. What's this all about? You can problem solve. What will make it easy for you to do this? How can I help you with this? And again, summarizing and agreeing to the solution. Tell me again what our plan is. Let's talk later today on how that plan worked. Okay, so this is all after we get back down to baseline and have gotten to the point where they're sitting with us calmly, even if they're upside down on the floor, whatever it is, you're connecting with their energy and using your calming skills to calm yourself, and they will mirror what neurons are firing with you, okay? They are going to mirror your energy, and over time they will build trust that you're going to hear what they have to say, even if it's irrational. You're going to validate what they're feeling in their body, what they're thinking, what they're believing to be true. And then once they're calm, they know that you're going to pull them in and you are going to help them solve the problem and practice when this happens next time. When you feel this, let's practice with your brother, your sister, with me, with your dad, with your mom, on how We're going to do this and be safe for yourself and everybody else. So I want to give you heartful thanks for joining me today, and we will review all of this stuff on our class, at our class on Wednesday. So I just want to say to you, I wish for you to be happy. I wish for you to be healthy. I wish for you to be safe. And I wish for you to have peace in your life. And thank you for this time. Take good care. So be it.